We're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic, God willing, especially in Israel as the vaccinations keep coming in great numbers, please God. But as we do that, the more I think about the pandemic, a friend of mine recently said that we spend a lot of time thinking about in the religious community about the how of the pandemic, to go back to synagogue, not to capsula, how we daven, but we have not spent that much time thinking about God and the pandemic. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's something I think we need to think about, especially in light of the word Magefah that appears in this week's Parsha. Hi everybody, this is Ruvain Spolter from Kitah.org with this week's Kitah Parshat thought. And I want to share with you the idea of Magefah. In Israel, the word Magefah means pandemic. It's called Magefat Corona, the pandemic. But in the Torah, the word Magefah has much, much deeper implications, as we'll see right now. So if we look at the Parshah, when we come to the Makkah of the plague of frogs, God says to tell Moshe should tell Paro, V'im ma'en ata l'shalech, if you refuse to send out the nation, Hineni anochi nogef et kol gvulcha batzvar da'im. I will nogef from the word lingof. Let's just highlight that word. I will smite. I don't know if I can highlight. I will smite all of your borders with frogs. The word nogef is from the exact same word of Magefah. Magefah, and as we've said before, Magefah means plague. That's how it is written in Hebrew. Magefah. From the word, it's connected to the word nogef. But the implication here of Magefah, let's look at Rashi for a second. Rashi says, what does that mean, nogef? Says Rashi, makeh, striking. V'chen kol lashon Magefah, the word of Magefah, of plague, eino lashon mita, it isn't death, ela lashon makah, striking. That it is direct strike from God. The Midrash actually had a problem with that. If you look in Shemot Rabbah, the Midrash says, why does God use the word nogef? Okay, so first it quotes the reason Rashi says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hareini dochek alecha et hamakot. I will force upon you the makot. But then Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, no. Kol makah umakah shaita ba'al hamitzvim b'mitzrayim, haya dever memashmesh uba'ima. Every time, with every makah, there was also dever, pestilence, literal, the plague. So Rabbi Yoshua said, it's not enough to say that the frogs are a plague. A plague came, but this only highlights the challenge that the word Magefah, or Negef, presents to us. Because the word Negef is also connected to the word Nega, Lingoa. And in the Torah, Nega refers to Tzara'at, the touch of God, a punishment directly from God. And this raises the specter that a Magefah, it doesn't just happen. The word Magefah, a plague doesn't just happen, but there is some kind of idea that God is involved in this process. And that should really force us to think about the idea and talk with our children about the idea of how do we associate, what is our role in our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and connection to this Magefah, to this Magefat Corona. So I don't think there are easy answers to this question. It's not for me to say, well, God brought Corona to the world because of X, Y, Z. That's not for us to say, we don't have Nevi'im, we don't have prophets. But additionally, I feel very strongly, we cannot say, well, it's just natural and God had no hand in it. Especially things that are global. A God-fearing person, a person of belief, has to see God's role or God's hand in shaking up the world in some way and sending a message to each and every one of us. And that's the challenge for all of us, to talk to our children and say, what am I learning from this? Have I used it to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Do I try to see the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in global events and try to learn lessons from them and use them as a motivation to become closer to Him? Because if at the end of Corona, we emerge from this pandemic and all we had was an inoculation, and we haven't used it as a way of introspection and connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then we will not have understood the true meaning of the word Magefah, that it is a strike in the Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's meant to send a message and meant to teach us something in order for us to grow. Shabbat Shalom.